AI is changing a lot. I mean, it has totally sort of ripped through our ecosystem in the tech world. Changes within Salesforce, changes outside of Salesforce, and now there are all these new tools to learn, all these new skill sets to learn. I mean, where do we start? Isn't this crazy?
Yes, it is crazy. And man, ChatGPT, it started off with that. And now we have Einstein 1 platform. But I've been actually ChatGPT originally really disrupted my ability to get things done in a good way. Made me a lot more productive because I hate to admit this, people think that, wow, give something to Charlie and he'll get a really cool vision project built, right? Guess what I've been doing lately? There's this thing called MuleSoft that we use to integrate to other APIs, for example, right? And I can go into well, now I use Code Builder, but originally I was using ChatGPT because Einstein 1 wasn't ready. Um, and I'd say, oh, I have an API I need to speak to. Here's a JSON payload. Build me a data weave transform for MuleSoft, and it would build it for me. And I just copy it and pasted it, and it didn't work the first time ever, but at least I didn't have to uh, transpose the JSON payload into the data weave format. It did it for me automatically. I just had to tweak it. Sometimes it took one iteration, sometimes it took 20, but it still saved me lots of time. And because I hate typing out things manually, which is going to be a theme, I think, here for skilling up. I use I use generative AI to do things that uh, I shouldn't be doing as a human, right? Repetitive tasks and conversion and transformations and things like that, and even writing code in some cases. So yeah, it has truly disrupted my ability to get things done.
I think you're exactly right, Charlie. And I think there's an interesting distinction between generative AI, which is what everybody seems to be using right now, and predictive AI, which is going to be, I don't think we're there yet, but I'm excited about where that's going. Generative AI, and maybe I shouldn't admit this, probably my colleagues are on the call, but so last year for our marketing program, right? That's where I started with ChatGPT. I was like, give me an outline for a marketing program, right? So to me, that was, again, automating something that could be automated so that I had more time to fill in all the details that would be pertinent to our specific product and what we were working on and what we were doing. And ironically, that's what I have dedicated the last 8 years of my life to, is doing that for nonprofits, right? Who always have so much more to do than they ever have time, money, personnel, anything for. So the more that we can automate for them, the more time they have to do the things that only humans can do, right? So I think that's a great point of how it's really changed, and I see that continuing to change, right? We're already, internally in our companies, we're working on ways to automate that make it super simple for folks to do the things that can't be automated. So I'm excited about what that looks like and the skill sets involved there. And I don't know, Mark, of course, you've got an entire training program on this, but to me, as I think about the skill sets that are really important for what we're doing in the future, data is what it comes back to, right? And I think Vala mentioned that in his opening keynote, that without the data, without the architecture, the structure, the clean data and the good data, AI is just going to exacerbate any problems that already exist. So that's a skill set that hopefully those of us in the Salesforce ecosystem, if we don't already have, we're working on improving. How do we get good data, and how do we knock down those silos?
Yeah, exactly. But Melissa, I actually got a quote from Vala from what he said about this, and he referenced the Gartner research, um, which said that medium and large size enterprises, only about 4% of data that the businesses have today is actually ready for AI. So what does that mean for us? That means we need to learn the skills to clean up the other 96%. And that's a huge deal. I mean, data is what grounds our AI. If you watch the last session, you'll know why. With RAG, data grounds our AI and affects ultimately the responses that we get from it. And so one of the first key things that we have to do is kind of like backward looking almost. Well, we have all of this data, but we have to make sure that it meets best practices before we can step forward and even start using the generative AI and getting the best results that we're looking for from it. So, and then Charlie, one other thing I wanted to mention, you talked about this. So your experience as a almost like coding, developing, delivering solutions using chat GPT or augmented by generative AI, that's the journey of developers and architects right now, isn't it? It's a transition from staring at the blank page, blank screen and beginning to code with the solution in mind versus going and using natural language to immediately generate something that could be 80% of the solution and then massaging it to get the final results to get across the finish line. And that's a total shift of how we do business. And you mentioned it, right? It's efficiency. That is the key thing that comes out of this transition. And so from a skills standpoint, I would just say if you're still not using Gen AI, whatever the tool set is, maybe Code Gen, maybe, if you're still not using Gen AI and you're developing and architecting, you may want to lean into that a little bit immediately.
Exactly. And, I intentionally threw out the data weave example, even though not everybody knows about MuleSoft and how it can easily ingest data, transform it, and then get it into our platform, right? Anywhere into our platform, including Data Cloud, right? Which is my hammer and everything looks like a nail for data grounding. Because when you get, and I'm sure this has been talked about all week long about how, Salesforce's approach and our unique approach to how to treat generative AI. And it involves ethics and it involves equality and trust, right? And that's why we call it I'm not sure what the marketing latest term is, but I call it the Einstein trust layer. I don't know. But, it starts with the prompt at the beginning, but it also starts with the data being ingested in the beginning, right? So you've got the obfuscation of the customer information. You've got the zero retention policy of all of the partners that provide our generative AI capabilities, including our own large language models and our customers' large language models, and then bringing it back to whatever you're going to send out to the customer and with the human in the loop, right? So that's our trust layer and an elevator pitch of our trust layer. With toxicity detection, and everything else, including grounding, poured on top as our secret sauce. But getting back to your comment about data, Data Cloud is amazing for ingesting and cleaning up that data, right? And then allowing you to generate that. What's really cool about it, and this is supposed to be about skills, right? Okay, so what skills do you need? You need to be able to, regardless of how good AI is at building things, like you can use Code Builder right now to generate flows. I don't know, is that available? Has that been released yet? Melissa, you know what. Hopefully I'm not talking. I'm gonna get myself in so much trouble. Is this being recorded? No, I'm talking about stuff that's not released yet, right? Although I did talk about it. I was at Snow. I'm here in Utah. I was at Snowforce yesterday, and I was sitting there showing things I was probably not. Well, Prompt Builder is all right. That's in beta, but there's anyway. Copilot. Copilot Studio and Builder. That's you'll be seeing that at Trailblazer DX, but it's really cool, and it gives you the ability, the skills you need are the skills to be able to not just use those tools, but to be able to do call outs to flow. Like, so if you've got skills around how to build a lightning flow, if you've got skills about how to write Apex and grab data in that's pertinent to the problem you want to solve, and you can shove that into a prompt, right? So it's all about, I call them mail merge fields, right? The little curly brace, bang, field name, right? In the prompt. You've seen all that, right? In Salesforce, in the original prompt builder, right? So if you could do that, by extracting the data, if you have the skills to write Apex, if you have the skills to build a flow, you're going to be on your way to being an expert in Einstein 1 platform and helping your customers deploy AI for your companies.
And no, I love it because you really are great at covering the technical side of those skills, right? And as someone who's much less technical than you are, I haven't written code since Fortran. So I think about the skills that translate, right? So collaboration. Mark, you were saying that being able to use ChatGPT is a different way and using code builder and instead of starting from ground zero, right? So having that collaborative mindset is huge in AI. Realizing that's really the way that works, that you're collaborating with everything that's out there that AI can access, right? So whatever you put out there becomes part of that collaboration. Curiosity, just the simple curiosity, wanting to learn more, wanting to understand is such a huge part of it, even in the human in the middle, right? I have a presentation that I do, a workshop on consequence scanning, which in AI, again, to me is just huge. And Charlie, you mentioned, backstage that you have made a commitment to having a woman on any panel that you're on. And I have encouraged through my work with Amplify, with, the women in tech, with all our diverse groups to be involved in AI because, if it's just a bunch of old white guys training it, then it's going to know what a bunch of old white guys know. And we need AI to know so much more than that. We don't need to build the same biases into AI, that exist. We need to be better than that. So those skills that are soft skills that are not technical, need to be there as well.
So Melissa, you're talking about leaning into learning ChatGPT and engaging with a model like that or a similar tool. There's lots of tools available now. That's often something that I just express for anyone who hasn't sort of taken any dive. Like that's one of the easiest key ways to get inside the head of a language model and start understanding how a prompt turns into a response. And as you do that over and over, you get an understanding of how these models work and how, there's this idea of tokenization that translates your input to the output, and the predictive nature of the AI is what gives you those responses. And so as you start to lean in and start to learn how that works, that actually, those skills as you do that will translate directly to using tools like Prompt Builder inside Salesforce.
Yep.
Because guess what? You're building prompts and you're using the same structured approach. And by the way, those prompts that you create can then be saved and then be used over and over again. And so while sometimes it feels a little bit like the Wild West if you're out with ChatGPT and doing a one-time solution, and you might feel like you're spinning your wheels and spending a little bit too much time on something, what you're learning there is going to be applicable to something in the future inside Prompt Builder that hundreds, thousands of users will actually use over and over again as a part of their workflow. And that, I think, is absolute key. And we can't end this call without talking about Trailhead, because Trailhead already exposes you to some of the fundamental knowledge for AI, especially if you want to take the AI associate trail certification trail. And then it also exposes you to Prompt Builder and what you can already expect. And with TDX just around the corner, with potential releases just around the corner, I know you can't say anything, Charlie, but we are so looking forward to it. These are the skills that you need to gather today to be ready for tomorrow, almost literally tomorrow.
Yes. Well, and not just Salesforce, right? But the Salesforce partners, that are already embedding AI in their technology. So Elements.cloud, for example, our product, Hands-on Connect, the volunteer engagement, all the different products that are utilizing and leveraging that AI. And you don't have to be a developer or an architect to use it. I mean, Salesforce administrators, even just users. And in fact, I think that's what the big translation is, right? Is for a general Salesforce user to be able to leverage the AI capabilities and not to be afraid, not to be hesitant because you don't understand how it works or you don't, because that is every time anybody uses it, it continues to train that data model. So we need everybody in all our diversity to use it.
It's funny you mentioned the Elements Club. So I was at I forgot which conference it was. It was like months ago,
Mhm.
and Ian comes up to me and goes, Charlie, he goes, you gotta see this. This is really cool. And he like pulls me aside and he and seriously, this is months ago, and I was blown away how quickly he had gotten generative AI integrated into that solution. It was amazing and impressive. And again, I don't know if he showed me here again, I get myself into trouble. Have they released stuff yet? I don't even, am I
Yes.
supposed to be talking about, okay, good. It showed me that because it really opened my eyes as to how quickly companies can react. And speaking of which, Salesforce pivoted on a dime. It was amazing how I've never seen teams in Salesforce move so fast. Mark said, make it happen. He said, jump, and they said how high, and Clara and the whole team, they delivered. It was amazing. I was gonna say something else about, anyway, prompts, I know. Prompt engineering. And I see a whole, speaking of Elements and other partners,
Mhm.
there's gonna be an even, and this is going to require, this is not only skills, but new business opportunities. People, even an individual, might start building their repertoire of prompts, right? That they can carry with them anywhere they go, right? Here, I have my